Hi everyone, welcome to the Sip and Spin. I am the Tipsy Spinster, and tonight in my glass is something a little bit unique. Oh, and there's ice. So tonight I took a little bit of a different take on a gin and tonic. I realized tonic actually has quite a lot of sugar in it, and even though it pairs really well with gin, I wondered if going with a flavored sparkling something might make a gin and tonic or a gin cocktail with a little bit less sugar in it. And what I discovered is a botanical sparkling beverage. It's called Petal. It's made here in the Midwest, which I really like. I'm a huge fan of supporting local businesses, especially local to the Midwest. And it is a botanical blend. The cool thing with this particular beverage, and tonight I'm using lychee rose, it's something that you can drink by itself. It doesn't need any libation. It doesn't need any alcohol at all. What I discovered is when you add just a little bit of gin to it, it pulls back on the sweetness and it actually elevates both the flavors in the gin as well as the flavors in the sparkling beverage. The gin that I've chosen to showcase this evening is from a nomadic distillery, and what makes it nomadic is this is a company that moves the distillation process from city to city. So for this particular gin blend, it was made in Los Angeles, California, which is kind of my second home. Keep tuning in. I hope to be doing a few shows from the beach in the upcoming weeks. This is a mass, and it is a London dry gin that to me seems a lot more like an Irish gin. The flavors really pull through. It's incredibly complex. This is a gin that would go well with your favorite. I would absolutely say use Fever Tree Tonic on this one because it is a really, really clean gin on the palate. It's not like your typical London gin. So I would absolutely recommend both Petal and a mass. So tonight for our breeds, we are in the final three of the threatened breeds. And the last three sheep that I'm going to talk about, the last three breeds that I'm going to talk about are CVM, California Variegated Mutant, which is also known as Romeldale, Clun Forest, and Black Welsh Mountain. So let's start with CVM. So Romeldale is a blend of Romney and Rambouillet. It was originally brought to the United States in 1915. It is a California sheep. Do you see? Tonight we're kind of going with the California theme. The other California breeds that we've seen in this season for the Shave 'em to Save 'em are Santa Cruz, and while this is not on the Shave 'em to Save 'em list, stay tuned for my show on California Red because it's a unique blend of two of the breeds that are on the Shave 'em to Save 'em list. So one of the things that I really like about CVM is that, or Romeldale, I've honestly never worked with this fiber before, and it's a fiber that naturally wants to spin just a little bit thicker. It's rare for me to spin this thick naturally, but this is yarn that wants to be more Aran weight. Romeldale would be perfect for a fisherman's sweater, Aran sweater, any kind of outerwear like that. It's soft, but I wouldn't consider this next to skin soft. It does have, even though this has been cleaned professionally, it wasn't mill, it came from a farm at the end of the road, so I know who the sheep was. This is from Stockton. There's still a little bit of a lanolin content in here. This would be perfect for sweaters, like I said, mittens, I would even say socks, although it does like to be spun thick. So it's kind of a unique breed. It's one of the oldest breeds that I'm going to talk about today. The next one that I want to talk about is Clun Forest, which is a relatively new breed. Clun Forest, like Black Welsh Mountain, has only been in the United States for just under 50 years. So this is a relatively new breed. I was a little bit surprised when I realized that it was on the Shave 'em to Save 'em watch list because, all things considered, some of the other breeds that we've looked at were breeds that were imported at the beginning of our country. And now we've got two breeds that are on the threatened list that are relatively newcomers, or youngins, if you will, to our country. Clun Forest originated in Shropshire. Shropshire. It's kind of like saying Worcestershire. Say that 5 times fast. It is a crimped breed. The lock structure is very tight, solid. It's a dense fiber that has a medium. It's not a high lanolin content. This does not have a lot of lanolin in it at all. The roving, however, still maintained some of the lanolin. This is from left-hand wool, and it does not want to spin up thick. This definitely wanted to spin a little bit thinner. And I think that's one of the reasons why I waited until this show for the final 3, and that's why I put these 3 together. Even though these 3 breeds don't really have a lot in common, they all have very specific spinning characteristics. And for those of you that get in and start playing with fiber and realize very quickly that it wants to be a certain weight, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. So Romeldale wants to be bulky. It just wants to be a thicker yarn by nature, whereas Clun Forest wants to be a little bit thinner, more DK, worsted. And Black Welsh Mountain, which is also a young breed, and this is from Queen Conch Fibers, Black Welsh Mountain actually wants to be spun relatively thin. This breed came to the United States in 1972. It's one of the only completely black breeds by nature on our list. And I struggled a little bit when I spun the sample because I realized this is a yarn that wants to be thin. And I think one of the reasons for that is because of its longer staple length. So the other 2 things that I wanted to talk about tonight are kind of on topic, off topic kind of things. And these are things, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you'll note that I've talked about them there as well. One, when you're working with support spindles, you need some place to support, hence the name, support spindles. I get a drink for that. Support spindles need a place to be supported. And if you're not quite sure what to use, you can always make one. So for tonight, I felted a piece of wool, and in my travels, this did not come from California. Actually, I believe this shell came from Florida, but it is a shell that I got on my travels. I simply used a very strong glue to hold it to the piece. It sits perfectly on my leg, and the spindle that I'm using, and I don't think that I showcased this in my spindle show because I hadn't put the wood burning on it yet. This is a vintage Russian support spindle, and these are easy to come by. You can just do a search on Etsy for them and they come up. They are an inexpensive way to jump into support spindles. They're a lot like the medieval spindles because realistically, all this is a piece of wood, and that is traditionally what was used in order to make yarn. And as I started spinning the Black Welsh Mountain on it, I realized it's perfect. Black Welsh Mountain is perfect for support spinning because it wants to be fine and it wants to be woolen. Black Welsh Mountain has a relatively long staple length. It's easy to draft out. It holds together well. And it doesn't have a high lanolin content, so it's not too sticky. So of all of the shave 'em to save 'em breeds, Black Welsh Mountain is one of the best for using with a support spindle. And you get a beautiful, fine yarn with it. This is going to be a very fun spin, I think. So that kind of wraps up the threatened breeds. We only have one more set of breeds to go through, and those are the breeds that are on the watch list. And I'm going to do a special show on the 3 breeds that are considered hair breeds. Those breeds are kind of unto themselves. One of them is a threatened breed, and the other 2 are in the watch list. So the next show that I do will be focusing on those watched breeds. Not the next show. An upcoming show is going to be on the final breeds, or that last set of breeds in the watch list, and that's going to be it for the breeds in the Shave 'em to Save 'em program. And then I'll probably jump in and start talking about what on earth are you going to do with all this yarn that you've created. So, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments section. Please make sure you check out the companies that I showcased this evening. There are some wonderful people. And I have to say, Romeldale is probably going to be the breed that I say you really want to check that one out. It's a neat breed. I really enjoyed working with Romeldale. Blech. It's like Shropshire. This is one of those shows where it's like, this is the one show where I should not have been tipsy before filming it. So I'm going to stop and say thanks for tuning in. Happy spinning.